Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals. Alrighty, so today I'm going to be smoking a Honeyrose Herbal cigarette for the first time, which is something I have been wanting to do for a while now. In specific, for the last couple years now, as I have read some pretty good things about the Honeyrose Herbal cigarettes online. But will these actually be all they're chalked up to be? Well, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out that is for sure. Honeyrose is a brand of herbal cigarettes from England that has been around for a lot longer than not, and today is quite notable, predominantly due to the fact that they make prop cigarettes for movie and play productions. But are these actually a good prop cigarette to smoke on their own? And if they are they a good cigarette alternative? Well, I'm looking forward to finding out all that as well. Today, in specific, I am going to be smoking and reviewing the Honeyrose cherry-flavored herbal cigarettes. But I do suppose, without further ado, I should probably go ahead and start covering the packaging of this pack right here, now shouldn't I? Then after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and get the cellophane all off, go ahead and get one of the cigarettes out, take a look at what these cigarettes actually look like, what they feel like, what the quality of them is like, everything like that. Then after that, I'm thinking I should probably go ahead and go outside, get one of these cigarettes all lit up, and actually get to smoking a Honeyrose Herbal cigarette for the first time and find out just how these actually are. Finally, after a couple years of having wanted to try a pack of Honeyrose Herbal cigarettes. As said, first off though, we've got to go over the packaging, which is just a pretty basic look in my personal opinion. It's not a bad look, it's not an ugly look by any means, but it is just a more basic look than not. And for some reason, this packaging honestly reminds me of 7 Stars packaging from Japan. I think it's probably down to the font used for the Honeyrose logo up here, and I think it's down to the background on this side of the packaging over here as well, as it's a white background with gray dots all over it. Now, the 7 Stars packaging from Japan, in my personal opinion, looks fantastic, and it's got a white background with gray stars all over it. This packaging, it doesn't really look all that much similar to the 7 Stars packaging, but they definitely do kind of reflect each other a little bit more so than not, in my personal opinion, and that is something that I do like, I will readily acknowledge. Let's go ahead and start covering the details of this packaging, though. We can see white on this side, sort of a reddish brown on this side, right up here in a sort of a reddish brown, which I guess is more of just a brown. It's not really a reddish brown now that I'm really looking at it. But on this side, in that sort of brown, it just says Honeyrose right there in a very nice sort of Times New Roman-esque all capitals sort of logo. Looks pretty nice in my personal opinion. Under that, it just says London right there, just trying to make it look fancy, I guess. Hey, look, we're from London and everything like that kind of thing. I guess they're trying to look fancy by doing that. Under that, it just says Herbal Smokes right there. Notice they're not actually technically calling these cigarettes. Otherwise, there might be some sort of regulatory thing going on, or maybe they are afraid they'd confuse consumers, and they'd actually think that these are real cigarettes when they're not. They are Herbal Smokes. And under this text right here, we can just see this text down here, and it just says tobacco-free, nicotine-free, and then it just says additive-free as well, which is something that I do appreciate, I will readily acknowledge. Not the first 2 portions of that. I don't appreciate the tobacco-free or the nicotine-free, but I do appreciate the additive-free. That's something that I personally like from my cigarettes, I will readily acknowledge. Moving on from this side of the packaging to this side of the packaging, we can see that the brown and the white are separated by a very dull gold line just right there. And we can see that there is a little bit of a crown right there, and under that it just says since 1910 right there. Honeyrose as a brand has been around not for quite that long, if I remember correctly. I looked at their website to get a look at their history. Technically speaking, they have been making herbal cigarettes for that long, but I don't believe the actual brand name of Honeyrose itself has been around since 1910, I will readily acknowledge. I could very well be wrong. I might be misremembering, but that's just what I'm remembering right off the bat, I'll acknowledge. Moving on below this right here, we can see it just says cherry right there, and that is the flavor of this cigarette. And that's pretty much all there is to the front of the packaging. Overall, I think it's a pretty nice look. It's a more basic look than not. Of course, that's kind of the goal. They don't want to make it look super fancy. They kind of want it to be a more basic look than not after all. But they look pretty good. They look pretty solid, if you ask me at least, and I do not mind how this packaging looks by any means, especially since it's kind of reminiscent to me, at least, of the 7 Stars packaging from Japan, which I am personally a big fan of. Moving on to the back of the packaging, I have to cover up one portion. So let me just go ahead and do that real quick. I've got to cover up just that portion of the packaging right there because there's a website and I just don't want to show it just in case I get in trouble with YouTube and everything like that. We can see there is a little bit of a B right there. I guess that's sort of a reference to the name Honeyrose after all. And once again, it just says Honeyrose London right there in the exact same way it said it on the front of the packaging. Just says cherry right there once again. And then it just says made in England right there, trying to make sure everybody knows these are made in England. That's pretty cool. These are fancy luxury English herbal cigarettes and everything like that kind of thing. I think that's what they're trying to imply in all honesty. But under that, we can see they talk about their blend and whatnot. And overall, this packaging on the back is very similar to how it is on the front. Now it is reversed on this side. The brown is, well, on this side. And on the back, it is on this side instead. And that is because the design does indeed wrap all the way around, as we can see, which is something that I love, frankly put. I love it when packaging wraps all the way around I love it when the design wraps all the way around the packaging is really the right way of putting it. And this pack does it great, and I love to see it, let me tell y'all what. But taking a look at just their herbal blend and whatnot. I'm just going to go ahead and read off these market segmentation spiels and informational areas down here. But it just says, Honeyrose Herbal cigarettes are made from a blend of specially selected naturally grown herbs, including marshmallow, red clover, and rose petals, which, man, I gotta admit, sounds pretty good to me. The addition of the premium cherry flavor creates a delightful and savory taste. Honeyrose Herbal cigarettes are not addictive and always? It says AWLAYS. Did they actually, is that a real word? AWLAYS. Like, I thought it said, Honeyrose Herbal cigarettes are non-addictive and always guaranteed to be tobacco, nicotine, and additive free. AWLAYS. Did they misspell always on the packaging? Or is that a real word? I feel like I'm being gaslighted by the pack into thinking that's a real word right now because I'm kind of like, there's no way they would misspell something on the packaging. I hope they didn't. Let me put it that way. I hope that's a real word. I have no idea. But, yep, they're basically just saying, hey, non-addictive, and they don't contain any nicotine or tobacco or anything like that kind of thing. I like that they talk about the blend on the back. That's something that I do appreciate. And then after that, it just says made in England by Honeyrose Products and everything like that as well. And, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the back of the packaging. Without further ado, let's go and move on to this side now. We can see brown background. Just says 20 sticks right there. Just has a little bit of a warning label right there, just saying herbal cigarettes are dangerous to your health. They produce tar and carbon monoxide, which is true. Moving on to the other side, we can see there's a sticker right here, so I'm actually going to have to wait to cover this side of the packaging, just simply because, well, there's a sticker in the way. Moving on to the bottom, just says Honeyrose London, and then just says a cherry right there, and it's the exact same on the top. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get the cellophane off, just like that, if I can. There we go, got it all off. And now, let's go ahead and just see how this packaging is. First off, I think I want to cover the side of the pack, and I've got to cover up a little bit of the side of the pack. But we can see, we just got a white background, barcode on this side, FSC compliancy above that. Then it just says imported by Amvatrid Corp, Los Angeles. Then it just says 20 sticks right up there. Just smelling this pack right off the bat. Overall, smells pretty good if I do say so myself. Quality of the packaging is just okay. It's nothing fantastic by any means. Overall texture is sort of a matte printed paperboard on this side and an extremely sticky gloss on this side, which I'm not a particularly big fan of. I think they honestly should have kept the texture on this side the same as the texture on this side because honestly, or I think they should have just used the texture on this side for all of it, frankly put, because this texture is quite nice. It's sort of like a semi-matte printed paperboard, sort of very just pleasant feeling texture. This, on the other hand, just feels cheap. It just feels horrible. I don't like it personally, but hey, maybe that was the goal. I've got no idea. Overall, that's what the texture is like. Does this pack look better without the cellophane on? I'd have to say it does. And overall quality is just okay. This was kind of bowed in just a little bit, and while it's not bad quality packaging by any means, it's not great quality either, I will readily acknowledge. Without further ado, I do think it's now time for me to go ahead and get this pack of cigarettes all opened up, and time for me to go and take a look at the inside of the pack. Nothing going on up here, and we can see that there is just a pretty normal cigarette insert that's all in white right there. The foil itself has a little bit of a texture to it, but it's just pretty much normal cigarette foil. Let's go and pull that out real quick. Pulled out pretty not super easily. I'm like not hard by any means, but it did take a minute. But it pulled out cleanly, which is a good thing. And one thing to mention is that it did lift the cigarettes, so that's not great. So now I have to push them all back down. Let's go ahead and just close that back up, which didn't really want to close up very well. And let's go and just take a look at these cigarettes now. We can see we get a cork-style brown filter right there with a design on it. And then we just get white paper under there. The white paper does indeed have horizontal lines going all the way across, which is something that is pretty normal for American tobacco cigarettes. The design on the filter itself is very much that of a coat of arms. Well, not really a coat of arms, just sort of the Honeyrose Herbal cigarette design, I do suppose. Yep, just has like a little bit of a crown right there and a lighter sort of brown. Then under that, it just has a little bit of a ribbon right there that just says since 1910. And right under the crown as well, it also says Honeyrose. I think you guys can really see that very well on camera though. Then under that crown and sort of ribbon, it just says Honeyrose. And then just right under that, it just says London right there. Just making it clear exactly what these are overall. Not a bad design by any means, but it is a more basic design than not. It doesn't look super special by any means, but it is nice to have a design on this cigarette, I will readily acknowledge. Overall, quality-wise, quality doesn't seem to be bad. There is some sort of bits kind of falling out and whatnot. This cigarette does feel just a little bit dusty, but that's not a big deal by any means. Quality doesn't seem to be bad, I'll acknowledge. And overall, look-wise, you know, it's not bad. It looks okay. It doesn't look as good as a normal cigarette or some normal cigarettes. I've definitely seen worse-looking cigarettes than this one. But, I mean, like, overall, I mean, like, you know, not a bad look. Smell-wise, smells pretty good. I'm getting a very nice sort of coca bean, I'd have to say, coca bean, creamy, slightly sweet, cherry flavor in the background. Or not flavor, smell. So yeah, it's overall very much coca bean, a little bit of creaminess, and then, well, I'd have to say it's like sweet coca bean, a little bit of sweet creaminess, and then a little bit of a sweet cherry flavor, or not flavor, smell in the background as well. Overall, these do smell pretty good, I will readily acknowledge. Taking a look at the blend on the inside, we can see it is actually a little bit kind of greenish in the light, but it doesn't really appear that when it's out of the light. But it is a darker and more dull sort of greenish blend than not. It's an herbal cigarette, so of course it's going to look a little bit different than a normal cigarette. No big surprise there. But I'm going to go and put that back in the pack now because I think I've covered everything I wanted to say about the cigarettes. So now I believe it's time for me to go ahead and head outside and smoke a little bit of a Honeyrose Herbal cigarette for the first time. So without further ado, y'all, I will see y'all in just a second. Bet y'all thought I was going to snap there. I am going to snap, but y'all aren't going to know when it happens. Alrighty, so now that I'm outside, I do think without further ado, it is now time for me to go ahead and get this pack of cigarettes right here all opened up. And I do think it's time for me to go ahead and get one of these cigarettes all out once again. And now that I have done that, I should probably go ahead and get a Honeyrose Herbal cigarette all lit up for the first time. And I do suppose I should probably find out just how good or just how bad they actually are. Will this cigarette be good? Will it be bad? I don't know, but I am very excited to find out. Let me tell y'all what. Without further ado, y'all, let's go ahead and also get my lighter out of my pocket. That is probably a necessity now, isn't it? And now, let's go ahead and get this cigarette all lit up. Yes, sir, yes, sir, you know what I'm saying? And right off the bat, I gotta admit, a pretty nice taste, pretty smooth, pretty pleasant, just based off the first hit at least. Yeah. Definitely a different taste than you would get from a normal cigarette that contains tobacco and nicotine, of course, but not a bad taste by any means, just a different taste. But what is the taste actually like? Well, these are supposedly cherry flavored, and while I am tasting maybe a little bit of cherry in there, it's not an overwhelming sort of sickly sweet candy cherry flavor kind of like I was expecting. I was kind of expecting that in all honesty, and that's not what I'm getting at all. It's a very mild sort of cherry flavor. It's not even like maraschino cherry. It's like real cherry flavor, or like not real cherry flavor, but like it's not like ultra sweet cherry flavor, I guess is really the right way of putting it. One thing I gotta admit about these cigarettes as well, the roughness and smoothness is pretty much almost identical to that of a normal cigarette, frankly put. Some herbal cigarettes just don't nail that, where the roughness is just different than a normal cigarette, and I'm just kind of like, okay, this is being marketed as a cigarette alternative, and yet the roughness of the cigarettes is completely different than that of a normal cigarette, so now all of a sudden somebody has to get used to smoking these cigarettes again. That's something I've noticed with a, with a couple different herbal cigarettes before. That's not an issue with these at all. This cigarette does also appear to be smoking a little bit slower than not, around about at the pace of an American Spirit, from what I can tell at least. And let's go and test the body real quick. I'm still trying to think about what the flavor is. Flavor is nice. It's different, but it's nice, I will acknowledge. Body is not badly sized by any means. It is, I would have to say, a moderately dense, medium to large size body. I wouldn't consider it to be a genuinely large body or a super dense body by any means, but it is a denser body than not, with a larger body than not, but not like a large body. Medium large, I'd have to say, is really the right way of putting it. Let's go ahead and test the airflow and draw real quick. Airflow, in my opinion, is mildly constricted, like an American Spirit. Honestly, this really is smoking a lot more so than not like an American Spirit. Besides the fact that there's no perforation on the filter, from what I can tell at least. And the draw itself is very much that of a medium-heavy draw. There's no really airiness to this cigarette by any means. It really is all smoke. But due to the constricted nature of the airflow, the draw itself is medium to heavy in my personal opinion. And it's about the same as an American Spirit. It's not exactly the same, but it is about the same, I'd have to say. Roughness and smoothness-wise, I'd have to say this is a low to mid 2 out of 4 right now. It might get a little bit rougher towards the end, but it's a low to mid 2 out of 4, which is very smooth in my personal opinion. And overall, strength-wise, I'm not really feeling anything at all. I mean, like, some herbal cigarettes give you a buzz if they have, like, rose petals in them or something like that. And supposedly part of the blend for this is rose petals. However, it's not really doing anything to me. I'm not really getting any sort of calming feeling as of this moment in time. I wouldn't really say the herbal cigarettes made by Honeyrose are probably buzz-inducing by any means. I have smoked some herbal cigarettes which definitely did give me a sort of calming feeling or a little bit of a buzz or something like that kind of thing. These, so far, that's not the case, though. So strength-wise, it's a 0. And as we're getting towards the end, and if you smoke a bit faster as well, just like a normal cigarette, the taste does degrade just a little bit if you smoke a little bit fast and towards the end as well. And it does also get a little bit rougher as well. You can definitely tell the tar builds up just a little bit more so than not. And that is pretty pronounced in the filter, where we can see there is a lot of tar built up in the center. And that really does make me think that there is a line of perforation, because normally tar does not just build up in the center like that. but I'm not seeing one, so maybe there's some sort of design to the filter where it all kind of is sent through the middle or something like that kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure, in all honesty. But what I can say for sure is that I don't mind this cigarette by any means. No, it's pretty solid. I do not mind the Honeyrose cherry-flavored herbal cigarettes. But what's the actual flavor of them actually like? Well, I'd have to say it's very much that of a creamy, sweet, herbal flavor with a slight undertone of coca bean, which is also a little bit sweet. And then under that, there's a very light sort of cherry-like flavor. Almost sort of cherry syrupy-like kind of thing, but it's not so sweet to make you go, oh, God, kind of thing, if you're not, like, a cherry person. Like, I'm personally a huge hater on, like, fake grape flavors because I hate, like, grape medicine, and I just personally think a lot of, like, fake grape flavors taste like grape medicine. I know some people are like that when it comes to cherry, and I don't think you'd have that experience with the flavor from this cigarette by any means. If you do not like fake cherry flavors, this will probably not bother you. But overall, yeah, this cigarette, it definitely tastes very different from a normal tobacco cigarette. But at the same time, you know, pretty pleasant. Not bad by any means. I do not mind this cigarette right here. I will readily acknowledge. Certainly no complaints on my behalf about it. And now that I'm almost done with it, I do honestly kind of feel like I am feeling a little bit of a calming feeling as well. Yeah. I don't mind these, I'll acknowledge. I don't mind them. Honeyrose Herbal Cigarettes. I don't think they're something I'd buy again, just because I'm not really one for herbal cigarettes in all honesty. But if I was looking to still smoke, even if I was quitting nicotine or tobacco or something like that kind of thing, honestly, these would be one of my top choices. These would absolutely be one of my top choices because these are pretty dang solid, and I see why I hear so many good things online about Honeyrose Herbal Cigarettes. They really are, for lack of a better way to put it, quite good. They really are quite good, and they're definitely a hell of a lot better than a lot of other herbal cigarettes I've tried in the past. Overall, for me, I'm thinking the Honeyrose Cherry Herbal Cigarettes are probably going to be getting a mid 3 to 4. Now, they're not something I'd personally buy on any routine basis because, well, it's not a tobacco cigarette, of course. However, it is something that I could see myself buying if I was trying to smoke a lot of cigarettes and I didn't want to get nicotine sick or something like that kind of thing. Or if I was not wanting to smoke as much, but if I was trying to not smoke as much tobacco, but I still wanted to smoke kind of thing. I could definitely see myself buying a pack of these. And honestly, I mean, like, I'm not getting sort of a chemical taste, no additive taste, no sort of papery taste. They're good quality cigarettes that have a nice flavor to them. That is different than tobacco, but is a nice flavor nonetheless. And they just smoke well, and they smoke to my personal preference. Yeah, I'm going to have to say a mid 3 to 4 for the Honeyrose Cherry Herbal Cigarettes from England, but bought in the United States. This is kind of starting to struggle at the very end, though. I think I'm going to go ahead and stub it out just like that. And I think that's pretty much all I had to say. I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about. I covered the taste, body, airflow, draw, roughness, smoothness, strength. I definitely did feel it. I do kind of feel like I started getting a little bit of a buzz towards the very end. Yeah, I think I've covered everything I wanted to say, and so as such, kind of summarized kind of my thoughts on them and kind of giving you guys my what I think of them as well. So yeah, I think without further ado, it's time for me to go ahead and roll the outro. Excuse me. I think without further ado, it's time for me to go ahead and roll the outro and end the video right here. Certainly hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video today. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video where I smoked a Honeyrose Herbal Cigarette for the first time. Of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box, and my other channels all in the description down below. Go check them all out. To the next one, y'all, stay safe and peace, and have a great one. Yes, sir, and I'm sending him saying.